Thursday night football. We've got an ugly matchup between the Denver Broncos and the New Orleans Saints. Who's playing? Because there's injuries all across the board. But being the degenerate gambler that I am, I still have a few best bets in today's game. Let's get into it. This is the Free 3. What's up, guys? It's your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we're just trying to get to that bag together and we're trying to make that money. Yesterday, we put together another winning day on the channel. That's back-to-back winning days. That's exactly what we need, a 2-in-1 day to be precise. Cashing on the Liberty and the Lynx first quarter over, no sweat bet there. We also got our cross sport parlay Bruins team total over 2.5 goals. They got that done pretty easily. And then a Collier 15 plus points. You love to see it. That brings us to 2-0 on NHL bets. I might be black, but I might may know a little something on the hockey. Hey, I'm not tooting my horn just yet, but it might be a good year on the NHL for us. I'm excited for that. And then our only loss on the day came on the Mets first 5 money line. And that's pretty an ugly loss, just given the fact that Luis Severino did not give up any earned runs. The runs were off of an error, so we could have really pushed on that one, but it's all right. 2-1 on the day, not too shabby for the month of October. You can see here 8 games above 500, 2-0 right there at the bottom with that NHL record. You love to see it. And in today's video, I'm going to give you guys a few player props that I like in today's Thursday night football matchup, and I do have a cross sport parlay, including a hockey bet, so make sure you guys stay till the end of the video so you guys can get that. All right, if you have not smashed that subscribe button just yet, if you're not sharing these videos with your friends who are sports bettors, I don't know what you're doing, because we're here every single day. We're continuing to cash on the bets. We're continuing to get to the bag, and my goal is just to give you guys different perspectives, different angles, analysis, just different ways that you guys can look at these games as we continue to crush the sports books together. I appreciate all the love and support that we've been having here on the channel. Let's dive in here to the first best bet of today. For my first best bet of the day, we are going to go to the Thursday night football matchup. And to be honest with you, this is a perfect tease piece opportunity because we've got the Saints as underdogs at home at +2.5. We've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the under 37.5 as well. So I was tempted at first to take the Saints up to like +8.5, +9, and then take that total up and take the under. But for me, it's just like one of those things where I took the Saints last week with a rookie quarterback underneath the teaser, and it didn't pay off for me. So I just don't want anything to be a 10-point win, a 14-point win, and now we lose the teaser and I'm upset, I'm pissed off about it. Or we just see terrible defense from the Saints like we saw last week where they give up 51 points and Denver Broncos score 30 points. The Saints add like 10 themselves and we go over the number. So it's just a few different ways that we can look at this game. And as a result, I'm just going to leave it solely to the player props here. And I think that we have a little bit of value on the player props in this game. Why? Because we have such a low total, because we have so many injuries on both sides of the ball. And most analysts and the sports books just don't think there's going to be any offense. But I always look at that with a grain of salt because we're still talking about professionals at the end of the day. Yes, there could be injuries. Yes, there can be banged up. But if you're in the NFL, at one point, you were the best player on your team. You were the best player on your high school team. You were the best player on your college team. You made it to the NFL for a specific reason. So even though that there's a lot of injuries on both sides, like the Saints are dealing with right now, missing their top wide receivers, that does not mean they don't have anybody on the team who can catch the ball. Yes, they might not have Derek Carr at quarterback, but Spencer Rattler is still a guy who can throw the ball when he needs to. I mean, he dropped 20 points last week. So these are just things that I think about when I'm taking player props. And because we're getting a little bit of advantage here because of the low numbers, I'm going to be able to hammer a few that I really like. So let's dive into these now. A few player props on the Broncos side, a few player props on the Saints side. So the first one that I'm going to look at is going to go with the Broncos quarterback. And we're going to go with Mr. Bo Nix over 188.5 passing yards, -115 odds on BetMGM. I get it. Bo Nix is a rookie. There have been times this season where he looks like he cannot really get it done, and that Denver Broncos offense is not scoring a whole lot of points, but that does not mean they can't move the ball. And when you look at the Saints on defense, especially their pass defense, they're god-awful. New Orleans has the 4th lowest pass defense, and they're giving up over 260 yards per game. So when you just look at Bo Nix's number here, based on what we get at the total, and based off of what the Saints are giving up per game, we're getting a little bit of value here. But when you look at Bo Nix a little bit deeper, I think we're even getting better numbers than what we should expect. Why? Because Bo Nix has gone over this in every single game this season except for 2. So he's gone over the line in 4 of the 6 games that he's played. His first career start on the NFL level, he went under it, 138 yards against the Seattle defense. That's understandable. Your first NFL game, okay. But the next start against Pittsburgh, 246 pass yards. The next game against Tampa Bay, 200 216 pass yards. That fourth game against the New York Jets defense, which is very known for their strong corners, yes, he only had 60 yards passing in that game, but that was an ugly affair from top to bottom and a 10-9 win for them. Game after that against the Las Vegas Raiders, 206 pass yards, and last week against the Chargers, 216 pass yards. And he's throwing up these numbers without throwing the ball a whole lot of times. 33 pass attempts last week, 27 the week before that against the Raiders, 36 against the Buccaneers, 35 attempts against the Steelers. So these are not numbers where he's going 200 yards on 45, 50 pass attempts. He's doing it with pretty good efficiency, 58%, 70%, 69%, which is not bad for a rookie quarterback. So given the fact that we just saw this New Orleans Saints defense get absolutely shredded by the Buccaneers last week, I mean, we saw Baker Mayfield go for 325 yards for 4 touchdowns, and they still forced 3 interceptions in that game. I think Bo Nix is going to get plenty of opportunities to throw the ball here, and it just also doesn't give me a lot of confidence with what the Denver Broncos have going on from a run standpoint, okay? When you look at this roster, they have a few different running backs on the roster, but nobody has really lived up to the hype. Javonte Williams, I have him on my fantasy team, and he's done absolutely nothing for me. He has 59 attempts on the year to go 213 yards. That's good for 3.6 yards per carry. That ain't going to get it done. Their second leading rusher on this team is their quarterback, Bo Nix. So, I mean, whatever that means. And then Jaleel McCollin, he has about 36 carries, so about 6 carries per game to go with another 3.2 yards per carry. So there's really nothing here from the run side for the Denver Broncos that give me any confidence in them. And then when you look at the New Orleans Saints defense, what they do best is stop the run. If they do anything good at all, it's stop the run. So for me, Bo Nix getting over this passing yards, I think he can do it. He's done it in 4 or 6 games already. I know it's going to be an ugly affair, but that does not mean that these teams are not going to move the ball down the field. And Bo Nix, he does have a healthy kind of, not an offensive line, because his offensive line is a little bit injured right now. His starting center just went on an injury reserve, but he still has Courtland Sutton there. He still has Javonte Williams there, right? He still has a few weapons that can allow him to be able to throw the ball. And keep in mind, the Saints play a lot of man-to-man coverage, which is exactly what you want as a rookie quarterback, because when you're playing man coverage, it's literally about getting your receiver to beat the corner and making sure that the safety doesn't have that overhead help, which is a lot easier to read for a lot of beginning quarterbacks than when you have to deal with zone defenses and drop coverage, things of that nature. So for me, over 180.5 pass yards, way too low of a number. I'm playing this up to 200. So anything underneath 200 on the books, I'm taking that as the first best bet of the day. So because I like Knicks, and because I think that the Broncos are going to be able to move the ball offensively, that means it's going to open up the floor, or the field, I should say, for some passing receptions. And I have to go to his man himself, Mr. Courtland Sutton, the number 1 receiver on this team. He started off the season a little bit slow, but since then he's been able to rebound pretty well. But Courtland Sutton, I'm not just looking at his receptions. I'm not just looking at his receiving yards, which I do like, 46, 48.5. That's not bad. But you guys know the bet that I like to take. We're going to go with his longest reception, over 19.5 yards, minus 120 odds. So I know some people are not a fan of the longest rush, the longest reception, but those have been cashing in pretty consistently for us. And the beautiful part about it is you only need one play for it to hit, and then you can wipe your hands clean, you can sit back and chill. And that's what we need to do here, because we've been cashing in on these in the first quarter, literally the last 3-4 that now we've done a lot of running backs, but this is the first time we're really doing a wide receiver. But the reason why I like this here is because Courtland Sutton has gone over this number in every single game this season, except for the first game of the year where he had a 17-yard reception against the Seahawks. And keep in mind, that was Bo Nix's first game in the NFL. But every other game this season, 26 yards in the game 2 against the Steelers, 22-yard completion against Tampa Bay, 29-yard completion against the Jets, 24-yarder against the Raiders, and last week he had a 20-yarder against the Chargers. The beautiful part about this is you don't have to be a receiver that has to break the defense off in terms of go deep down the field. You can literally catch this on a screen pass, break a few tackles, and still cash in on this. And when you look at this New Orleans Saints defense, like I just mentioned, that is god-awful, has given up a lot of yards through the air. If you look at the numbers, they have literally given up. Number 1 receivers this year have gone over this total in every single game. So let's go through it real quickly. I'm not going to go through order in terms of the games that they played, but let's just look at some of their opponents and what they've been able to do. For the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Goedert had a 61-yard reception. Devontae Smith had a 21-yarder. When we look at the game against the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb had a 65-yarder. Jalen Tolbert had a 39-yarder. When you look at the game against the Panthers, Adam Thielen with his 80-year-old self had a 32-yarder. Jonathan Mingo had a 35-yarder. When we look at last week against against the Buccaneers. Literally every receiver on the field was able to get over this one. Chris Godwin, 55-yarder. Sean Tucker, 36-yarder. Ryan Miller, 39-yarder. Mike Evans, 22-yarder. So it doesn't matter if you're a starter, it doesn't matter if you're a star, if you're a bench player, the Saints are going to allow you to be able to break off a big play. Juju Smith-Schuster, 50-yarder. Travis Kelce, 21-yarder when they played the Chiefs. And then when they played the Falcons a few weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, Darnell Mooney had a 36-yarder. Bijan Robinson had a 26-yarder. Do you need any more evidence here to be able to take a little sprinkle on this one? A little bit of a risk on it? I don't know what else you need to hear. Cortland Sutton has consistently gone over this total in 5 of the 6 games. No reason to go from it here. Let's lock this in as our second best bet of the game. Now that we were able to get the Broncos plays out the way, let's go look at the Saints on their side. And you know what? I really don't know what to do with this game. Everyone's on Alvin Kamara. Obviously, the Saints are going to try to run the ball a lot with no wide receiver options. We've got no Chris Olave in this game. We have no Shaheed in this game as he's down with like an MCL, ACL injury, so he's going to be out for a few weeks. Derek Carr is injured right now. I mean, the Saints are just banged up. They have injuries on the offensive line. I mean, we're starting receivers that we have never heard of before. So what are you going to take? No, but what are we going to look at? I mean, the defense, in my opinion, is going to be locked in on Kamara. And if you really look at the numbers, Kamara hasn't really been that good over the last few years. Now I'm starting to understand why these teams don't really pay these running backs for real, because after about like 26, I mean, it's really just a fast downhill slope from there. Kamara doesn't really break that many tackles. Yeah, he's explosive when he's catching it out of the backfield and he has some blockers in front of him. But if that line gets blown up, I mean, it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough for him. And he's not really, has the explosion that we're used to seeing. And when you really look at the defensive game plan, I think the Broncos, which is one of the best defenses in the NFL right now, they're going to say Spencer Rattler beat us. If a rookie quarterback with the no-name receivers can beat us, cool. We're not going to let a former All-Pro, Pro Bowler and Alvin Kamara beat us. So I'm expecting the box to be heavy. I'm expecting the linebackers to be closer to the line. I'm expecting a lot of different coverages to throw Rattler off. But that means that Rattler's going to be able to get a lot of volume here. And I'm going to take him. And I'm going to do 2 different bets with Spencer Rattler here. We're going to go over 28.5 pass attempts, and we're also going to take 1+ interception. Both of these bets are minus 125 odds on BetMGM. Let's start off with the pass attempts, okay? You guys know these are one of my favorite plays to take. Why? Because it's easier to predict the game script than it is to predict if they're actually going to deliver. And the pass attempts is one of those things with Spencer Rattler that I have a lot of confidence in, because this is the guy that's used to throwing the ball dating back to his times in college, okay? I know at Oklahoma he struggled a little bit, then went to South Carolina, looked like a completely different guy, but he's somebody who can literally throw the ball. He's not as scared to throw it deep down the field. He's not as scared to press these defenses and try them out. And I got to give a young guy credit for that in Spencer Rattler. And if you look at his numbers last week, he threw it for 40 times. So it's not like he was trying to shy away from the fact that I was making my first career start or he didn't know what he was doing. He threw it 40 times last week. Last week, if you guys tapped into my Twitter page, I gave out his pass attempts at 29.5 as one of my best bets of the day because I knew that he was going to be able to throw the ball. Obviously, it helped that the Buccaneers scored a lot of points, but like I mentioned, I just think that the Broncos are the better team here. I think this is their game to lose, and if they are down, that means Rattler's going to have to throw the ball. He threw for 243 yards last week on 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, and that's why I'm his interception here, because he threw for an interception last week, and there's no reason why he won't be able to throw an interception here as well. And I know that he's going to be without his top wide receivers, which is why I like the interception, but keep in mind that Denver is a team that teams typically tend to throw the ball a lot on, averaging about 32 times per game that they're throwing the ball on. And then when you look at it, Denver does have a top 5 defense. They're giving about 170 yards per game. That's why I'm taking the attempts and not the yards. And that's why I'm also taking the interceptions. But they're top 10 in interceptions forced per game. They're averaging about 1 interception per game. And when they face a little bit of a lower inferior quarterback, right? I'm not talking about when they faced Aaron Rodgers or when they faced like Jalen Hurts. They've been able to cause turnovers. Geno Smith had an interception. Baker Mayfield had 3 against them last week. Gardner Minshew, he had 2 interceptions. Aiden McConnell, he had 1 interception. So when you think about a rookie in Spencer Rattler, he's a little bit more on these type of caliber players than he is on Aaron Rodgers type level, right? Again, I mentioned he threw 2 interceptions last week, but also keep in mind that the Bills play the second most man coverage and they're top 5 in blitz rate and pressure rate. So that means they're going to bring the pressure, they're going to load the box like I mentioned, which is going to probably take away the run from Kamara, which is going to set up a lot of screen passes, aka pass attempts. So these are all reasons why I like this here in both situations. And then when you got rookie quarterbacks playing on a short week against two of the best defenses in the NFL, it just makes for an ugly game. I think that the under is the play. A lot of mistakes will be made, but I think the pass attempts, especially late in the halves in the games, if we have a team that's down, and I think that's what the Saints are going to be doing, it's going to open up a little bit of volume here. A lot of quick passes, slants where timing is imperative, which also means that an interception is going to happen if you don't get that timing down. I like both of these picks. We're going to them as two separate picks. You can parlay them together if you want to, but over 28.5, just way too low of a number, and 1+ interceptions for Spencer Rattler is our 2-player props for the Saints here. All right, 4-player props I've given you guys on the Thursday night football game. That's for that. My last pick of the day is going to be a cross-sport parlay. So we're going to go to college football, and we're also going to go to the NHL. And what we're going to do here is do very similar to what we did yesterday. So we're going to go with the New York Rangers. We're going to go with their team total over 2.5 goals. And we're going to take Virginia Tech on the money line. Parlay those two together. That gets you to -105 on DraftKings. Now, the reason why you might have to take this on DraftKings is because DraftKings allows you to do alternate team totals. Your book probably has the Rangers team total at 3.5. You can take that. I'm not opposed to it, but I would want you to get that alternate number at 2.5 so that way you can parlay it with Virginia Tech. The reason why I like the Rangers here is because they're leading the NHL in goals per game. They're averaging about 5 goals per game right now. That's pretty solid to think about when you're talking about starting off the season. But when you also keep in mind that they're facing a Red Wings defense that they literally just played at home, and they won that game 4-1. So they were able to score 4 goals against them, and all we need is 3. That's not asking for too much. And when you look at that, the fact that they lost to Utah 6-5 and they beat the Penguins 6-0, this is a team that is scoring a ton of goals, and you love to see that. Meanwhile, for the Detroit Red Wings, I mentioned they lost 4-1 last game against the Rangers. They were able to beat the Predators 3-0 in their previous game before that, but to start off the season, they lost to the Penguins 6-3. So they lost to the Penguins 6-3. The Rangers beat the Penguins 6-0, and now all we need is for the Rangers to score 3 goals. That's not asking for too much here. I like that angle. I wish I could tell you more about what players are going to score and all types of things. I don't know too much about hockey. I just know the numbers, and that's what we're going with right now. 2-0 on Hockey Best this year. Don't sleep on it. So we're going to go with that as our first pick. And then Virginia Tech, they're taking on Boston College at home today. And Va-Tech is a team that a lot of people had high hopes on building into the season. And after their opening season loss to Vanderbilt, those hopes were quickly crushed. But this team has a lot of time left to turn things around. They're 1-1 right now in ACC play after completely dismantling Stanford in their last game 31-7, but they did lose to Miami 38-34 in that Hail Mary final play. That was a touchdown, was it not a touchdown? I don't know, but they could easily be 2-0 right now in conference alongside a big ranked win. So this Va-Tech team has been getting a little bit better, and I like them here at home. And I saw a key stat earlier that kind of made me light up. When Virginia Tech, underneath their head coach, has extra time to rest, coming off of a bye week, 10, 11 days to rest, they are 4-1, not only on the money line and straight up, but also 4-1 against the number. I don't feel like sweating out 7.5 on a full touchdown play, but I do think that they're going to beat Boston College. Boston College is a team that's very one-dimensional. They have a quarterback who can't throw the ball. They run the ball a crap ton, which is what Virginia Tech can be able to play on here and load the box. They're coming off a loss against a very bad Virginia team on the road, and now they have to travel on the road in a short week to a very hostile environment in Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech really does not lose a lot of games. I'm taking Virginia Tech on the money line. You can lay the points if you want to, but I'm not going to do it. Let's just go with the Virginia Tech money line, Rangers team total just to get 3 goals as our final best bet of the day. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. If you were able to hang out till the end of the video, I do appreciate you. I gave you guys 5 best bets that I really love, 5 winners. In the Thursday night matchup, we're going to take Bo Nix over 188.5 passing yards. We're going to take Cortland Sutton for his longest reception over 19.5 yards. We're going to take Spencer Rattler over 28.5 pass attempts. And then we're also going to take Spencer Rattler to throw an interception. That's what we're taking on Thursday night slate. And then we're also going to take a quick little cross-sport parlay. Rangers team total over 2.5. Virginia Tech money line, that gets you to about -105 on DraftKings. You can't be too mad at that. Hopefully we can come back tomorrow, celebrate another winning day, maybe celebrate a 5-0 sweep. Thursday night football has been doing well to us. Let's keep the momentum going. If you've been enjoying the channel, I appreciate it. Drop a comment below with what you're taking, so this way I can tell you. And as always, dictate your fate, get to that cheddar, and I'll see y'all in tomorrow's video. Later, gang.